A mental picture of health, vitality, and well-being is placed before the mind's eye or psyche of the ill or imperfect person, and this perfect picture gradually becomes a part of the psyche of that person. And as this progresses, it becomes manifest throughout the physical being and well-being or physical perfection is established. This is the highest form of physical reconstruction and will ultimately again become part of the services both physicians and ministers, real physicians, which we're going to get into in this book up here, the sixth and seventh book of Moses, about the magic of the Israelites and what is a true magician or physician or healer. Again, let me read that. This is the highest form of physical reconstruction and will ultimately again become part of the services both physicians and ministers will render their followers. There is a balm in Gilead. In the higher occult, this is known as image formation, vivification, and transformation. And again, we're going to reference this with the sixth and seventh book of Moses. Now, if you don't know the story of Jacob and Laban, I suggest you go look it up, Genesis 27:43, as it says there. But essentially, let me read this top part here to give you a little introduction to what we're talking about. We find another remarkable instance of the magic or magnetic influence in the changing the nature and complexion of living objects, just like I was talking about in the book, Our Story of Atlantis, how if you put something in front of somebody, it can change their mindset. The images that you see, the thoughts, the frequencies, the vibrations that are put in front of you psychologically, spiritually influence you for negative or for positive. So we find another remarkable instance of the magnetic influence in changing the nature and complexion of living objects in the history of Jacob. It is as follows. Jacob agreed with Laban that he would still guard his sheep, provided that Laban would give him as a reward uh, for his service all the spotted lambs and goats that should in the future be added to his flocks. Laban consented to this proposal, and Jacob became immensely rich. It is worth the trouble to insert the passage relating to this transaction as an application of the mysterious doctrine of magnetism. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar and the hazel and the chestnut tree, and peeled white streaks in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters and the watering troughs when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle ringed, streaked, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks towards the ring streaked, and all the brown in the flock of Laban he put in his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feeble were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and menservants, and camels, and asses. This proves clearly that the sheep and the goats could be made to bring forth their young, changed in color and appearance corresponding with the pill rods, which were placed before them by Jacob's as they drank from the water. In these days, the theory that the features of the offspring of a human mother can be affected by an object upon which the mother gazes is pronounced absurd. And yet, this theory, in the very nature of things, is as fully established as the fact that the mental qualities of many children differ totally from those of their parents. The fact that the sheep and the goats, upon seeing the objects which Jacob so skillfully placed before them, brought forth their young, differing in appearance from themselves, has a very deep significance. Either Jacob knew what the result of this stratagem would be from experience, or it was revealed to him in a dream. For we read in Genesis 31:10, and it came to pass at the time the cattle conceived, that I lifted up mine eyes, and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring-streaked, speckled, and grizzled. But the fact that the female progenitor, both human and animal, is capable at the period of gestation to transmit her offspring the image and likeness of surrounding objects has a surer foundation than is commonly believed to be possible. It's kind of interesting how both the Atlanteans in this book, Our Story of Atlantis, going into some of the magic and science and occult mysteries of Atlantis, and the magic of the Israelites kind of line up. And manifestation, transformation, image formation, very interesting. So this definitely hits into what is important for what you have in front of you and what you're listening to, and why we're constantly bombarded with so many nasty images and so many nasty movies, and they're always putting inappropriate stuff in front of us because they want us to manifest it inside of us. They want that to be our manifestation. They want that to be our destiny, they want us to transmute that instead of transmute darkness into light. So imagine having the law of the most high, the Bible, in front of you all the time. You're constantly reading it. It even goes as far as to having the image of a white savior constantly in your mental frame, instead of somebody that actually looks like you, the true version. And so I was just thinking about this. Thought it was very interesting when I was reading from the book Our Story of Atlantis, and I was like, wait a second, that sounds familiar with Jacob and Laban and the flocks that I read from this part. This also goes into the news that Jacob was a great scientist, or he just understood, he had a natural knack for these things as well. It was saying earlier here, was this a dream or did he just have experience doing this? And it was probably both. Again, this goes into some deep stuff about physicians, the role of a physician and a healer. But just to finish it off, I'm going to read from here. It is therefore indispensable that a true physician must also be a true priest. For medicine comes from the Most High. The Lord hath created medicines out of the earth, and he is wise that he will not abhor them.